What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's Twitch stream. We are joined by wonderful guest, special friend of the channel, Jason Silva of Betfred Sports. We've had Jason on before for several different things. Him and Ben have known each other for years. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Jason through various things, either on the stream, in our Discord, all kinds of stuff. But welcome, Jason. Glad to have you and your college football expertise on
Yeah,
board for
man.
today.
I appreciate it, Nick. Happy to be here. Always good talking with you guys. And, time of the year is back. So, you know what time it is. We got to get back to the podcast and make some picks and hopefully share some winners with everybody.
Oh, yeah. So, agenda for today, and I think this is going to be something that we're doing pretty much every week, I think is the plan. So, early on, so we're live here on Tuesday. Obviously, games are on typically a couple on Thursday, mostly on Saturday for college football. But we're here early in the week. Talk about early line moves, talk about some spots that we like, some marquee games. So I guess let's just hop into it. So we have a schedule down at the bottom. That's kind of new, little ticker. So we're starting off talking about the various line movements that we've seen so far in week one. I think, I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we have lines. Lines are a little bit more volatile at this time of year.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that statement. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, right? Everybody's kind of looking at the same, the Conley or Brad Powers, whoever it is, Kenny White, wherever you're getting your power rankings from. I could have named another handful of guys, but yeah, everybody's kind of looking at the same data. Everybody's looking at returning production, returning starters, what coaches are new, who's been around, what guys are getting around the corner into that year 3, year 4, you really start to bring that program and build that culture out. So I think everybody's it's really a guessing game at this point, right? You don't know who's going to show up and what it's going to look like. But what I will say is this year we're seeing more production returning than ever before, given people getting the year back, right? So guys who played last year and the teams that we watched last year, I would say it's a fair assumption to make that the average person will be more familiar with these teams than ever before, given the COVID year and the returning. The year given back to the guys, right? So while it is a big guessing game, I think that this year is unique in the sense that, we got a little bit more of a feel for these programs than we have in years past and usually do come week one.
Yeah, for sure. So in addition to the line moves, we have a couple games listed here that we have scheduled to talk about. But we, of course, would love to know the games that everybody else is interested in as well. I see Jake in the chat is already 1 of 1 on the year.
Nice.
Little Nebraska under 52.5, UCLA minus 17.5 parlay. I know that Nebraska under just hit by the hook, if I remember correctly.
Missed PAT. Yeah, that missed PAT late.
Mm-hmm. Larry says, "Okay, we can start now." I hope you're talking about just college football in general. I for one, am looking forward to it. But let's get into the line move talk. So, do you guys have anything in particular that you've been watching this week in the run up to the set of games?
Yeah, let me start it off real quick with some line moves though, and there were two that, Jason, we were just kind of chatting about. Actually, one in particular was ULL and Texas, which I think is a really interesting one because, to see a number like +8 against a powerhouse like Texas, it's kind of shocking from like a name recognition standpoint, but I think it's warranted, right? This ULL team's really good, and Texas every year seems to, fail their expectations. So I want to talk a little bit about that one, and if you have just a lean on that game.
Well, my thought there is if I'm going to bet it today, I missed that best number, right? I think it was up into the teens, and now we're looking at an 8.5 maybe, right? It's under 9 now.
Yeah, so what we're seeing as the consensus was an open at 16.5 and a move all the way down to 8.
Yeah. So while I do like ULL still, I would be hard pressed to bet it at this point if I hadn't already. Would be my suggestion to somebody else. But let's not forget, right? They came out last year and correct me if I'm wrong, came out and knocked off Iowa State, who was a team that we were all looking forward to watching last year, and now is back on the map after a strong finish. But that ULL team can play. They're not scared to go on the road and play anybody, and they're my favorite to win the Sun Belt Conference. I've been on the horn about that since last year when I was hammering them almost every week there, closing out the season. So this ULL team is absolutely stacked. Return production-wise, is sitting in the top 10 or returning production. Billy Napier, hell of a coach. It's either year 3 or year 4. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's year 3 or year 4, and both whatever one it is. And in those years, that's where a culture is built, and teams really start to take that corner. And the losing to App State, to get knocked off by the Coastals and those type of teams. When you're building a real program, build that culture, and have 3-4 years of recruiting classes in with you, these are the times that you got to cash in. And Billy Napier is a guy who came in. I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago. I remember Ben and I talked about it when it happened. He was making guys pay for like a fundraiser, right? And they were trying to run Billy Napier out of Lafayette when he first got there. And years later, they're winning double-digit games and competing with the big dogs, so knocking off the big dogs. So yeah, I really like them. It's just where the number's at compared to where it opened. It would be tough for me to say, hey, go bet it now after you get 8 points worse than the open.
But at the same time, Jason, I did say that about UCLA, and I mean they beat the brakes off of Hawaii because that opened at -9 and was -17. But I do agree with you.
It doesn't.
I'm
mean
not touching
not
it.
A good bet doesn't mean it's not a good. Well, in the grand scheme of good bet, it's all about when you enter the market, right? So
Yeah.
you can still win, and I do think they will cover that 8 against the Longhorns. Our COO here, Brian Bennett, he won't like to hear that as he is a Longhorn alum, but I hope he's watching and hears this. But yeah, I think his Longhorns are getting knocked off. I think they could win outright, ULL.
Yeah, totally.
A lot of missed pieces on that Longhorn team. They obviously didn't turn the corner like they thought they would last year, and that was their time. And I think ULL is just thriving. It's a program that is a team to bet on all year. I think they're 4-1 to win the Sun Belt. I like it, and that's where I stand on that game.
And how about the turnaround that the Sun Belt as a conference has made, just in general over the last couple of years? I know it was just 3 or 4 years ago where Troy just eked into the back end of the top 25, and that was the first time a Sun Belt team had ever been ranked. And now here we are, preseason 2021. There's multiple teams ranked from the conference. So just because they don't have that national name recognition, that blue chip type name recognition, that doesn't mean that these teams are bad by any stretch.
Absolutely not. And
I was just going to say that's why you can't look at the team names and just say, well, it's Texas at home. Come on, you got to look at who's returning. In all honesty, ULL has more excitement and momentum headed into the season than Texas does, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was one that I wanted to touch on. Huge line move there. Anything else, Jason, before we hop on into some specific matchups?
You know what? I don't have a list in front of me of line moves. If you could name some, I'm happy to rattle off talking about them. I mean,
BYU Arizona is one,
I'm not high on Arizona. I'm not high on Jed Fish, but I am high on that defense coached under Don Brown. He got figured out there at Michigan, and over the years. But his defense absolutely brings it. They're aggressive, and I think it's just what Arizona needed. With that said, do I feel like they're going to go and knock off BYU here at Allegiant Stadium right down the street over in Las Vegas from where I'm at? No. But I don't have too much of a take on that one, to be honest with you. What did it open at? Where are we at on that?
So that one opened up at BYU by 9.5 and has moved all the way to 12.5. And at the same time, we've actually seen a 3.5 point drop in the total. So it's not just taking away points from Arizona and giving them to BYU. It's actually just been BYU's team total staying constant, but just taking away points from Arizona.
There's a lot of unknowns, right, with this BYU offense. Obviously, from a signal caller standpoint, losing one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But the program is built. I mean, it's built to sustain success. Will they have it off rip? I don't know. It's a tough call for me. It's a game I wouldn't bet on, but what I would attest that total going under to is and the number moving towards BYU is people just are saying Arizona is dog shit. Oh, but wait, they got Don Brown. The defense should be improved. Oh, wait, the best quarterback in the one of the best quarterbacks in the country is gone from the favorite here. Let's lean to the under. That's probably what some of the sharps are doing here is betting the under with those uncertainties and improvement to Arizona's defense schematically, and Arizona's dog shit, right? It's probably the narrative here. So, I mean, just off a quick handicap off the top of my head, I could understand why both lines are moving in the direction that they are, both the total and the side. But that's without, I don't have much into that game personally as far as knowledge goes.
I think it's going to continue to creep up to minus 13.5, to be completely honest. I think the public is going to be all over BYU in this spot. We kind of mentioned why, but yeah, Arizona offensively is going to struggle. I don't know how they put up points. They're going to be the worst team in the Pac-12 this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. And yeah, good point. It is in Las Vegas, and you do have to do your research on where these games are played, because it factors, of course, into why the line is where it's at. So do your research. Is it neutral site? There's a lot of neutral site games in week 1. So, but yeah, Nick, I think we're ready. Let's hop on into a few of the games.
Sounds good to me. So, of course, since Jason is a Betfred employee, we're using Betfred today as our odds source. So we're going to start off with one of the Thursday night games. I'm so confused. Is today Wednesday? I think I said it was Tuesday earlier.
I almost corrected you early on. Yeah, it is Wednesday, Nick.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. So we have a couple of games tomorrow, starting off the season. The real season, week 1. I mean, I guess we technically started last week, but we're starting for real tomorrow. So we have Temple and we have Rutgers. Lines in this one. Rutgers favored by 14.5 points. We have a total of 51.5. So I know that one of you guys has some juicy info on this game because we chose it for the segment, despite it not being one of the marquee matchups this week. So let us know what you guys got.
Jason, real quick, I think in the past when we've done podcasts together, I can't even remember one time where we talked about like the premier game of the day or of the week in college football.
Yeah, generally that's not where it's at for the line value,
You got sharp
games,
markets in those games.
Yeah.
I like to look outside of the big games, man. Everybody's worried about the top 5, top 10 teams playing, and of course at times, as a football fan, I enjoy watching them. And yes, sometimes we will have action on them. Like I do like Georgia over Clemson this weekend. But with that said, that's not the games where I'm like getting down and feeling like I have an edge at,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
I think that's safe to say for most.
And Jason, real quick, I don't have a huge take on this game. I'll let you take that. But before that, yeah. I will say that it opened at minus 13 for Rutgers, and
total at 51.
Yeah, 51. This is interesting because I don't know if I'm really high on Rutgers, but I think this is more of a move on how bad Temple's going to be. So
I would say you're definitely right about that. I am. So just like a little background as far as, I played in the MAC. I played against Rod Carey teams a couple times. I have a pretty good idea of Rod Carey coach teams and how they're run from buddies playing over there and, knowing some stories. PJ, my coach, was an NIU alum, so had some perspective on Rod Carey from him and some stories. Just all around, I've followed his career. And last year I was on the side of betting against Temple. Ben and I had a podcast going last year, and we were fading Temple left and right. Really, the handicap here is a Rutgers team who's returning top 10 production in the country. This is a senior-led team. I believe 20 out of 22 starters are returning. They were 0-5 at home last year, and they're getting a team who's very beatable at home. It's Greg Schiano's year 2. Obviously, we've seen Rutgers go through it in the past years after Schiano's departure to the NFL, and they were in the shitter for, excuse my language, but so we're going to talk here.
This is a French-friendly channel.
we're all betters, right? You got to be over a certain age to bet. So hopefully you can deal with that. But yeah, Rod Carey at NIU, right? He was put up on this pedestal and got over to Temple based on his success that he had at NIU. What I would argue was NIU was set up for success for the long term, and Rod Carey came in and sat in that seat and was able to put together some solid seasons, right? But nothing, in my opinion, was done on the back of Rod Carey, right? It was just the culture, the program was built. You'll hear me talk culture all the time because that's what college football is all about, the culture and the systems that are in place, right?
They're not getting paid. Well,
what's that?
I said the players aren't getting paid, and then I was like, oh, well.
Well,
they weren't.
Yeah, things are changing.
But I 100% agree with what you're saying.
But yeah, so I'm looking at it as Greg Schiano in year 2 gets to take a big step. He's at home. He's got a team that is in their backyard, so they're not going to take lightly by any means. And I think Temple goes in there with a new quarterback, the Georgia transfer, who in the small sample size that we got to watch him play last year, the kid Mathis, wasn't all too impressed with him, turns the ball over left and right. And again, that's in a very small sample size. We saw him do that. As far as returning production on the Temple side goes, they're in the bottom 20 nationally. They returned 13 guys, I believe 6 offensively, 7 defensively. I believe that's correct. I know it's 13. I think it's a 6-7 split. With a new quarterback in place, they're just, they're losing a lot of pieces. This is a team coming off a 1-6 season with no real identity. Rod Carey in year 3 here. And I think, quite frankly, it's this year or next year, Rod Carey's going to be out of town, out of a job. So, again, we're buying on the Rutgers team at home, who we've seen took a big stride last year in Schiano's first year back. We get them here in year 2 after a full offseason program, a full spring ball. And this is a team who went 0-5 again at home last year. So they're going to beat the brakes off Temple if they have the opportunity to. The only highlight of last year's team for Temple was the kid Russo at quarterback, who could sling it around a little bit. He is gone. Again, Mathis is in. And it comes down to, again, you'll hear me talk about return production a lot, but we don't have much to go off, guys. And you see what you had last year, and we know where programs are culture-wise and how many years into the program the coaches are. And I'm buying on one program going this way and the other going that way. And given the opportunity to run that score up, I see something like a 35-14 game. Rutgers wins by 21 plus. The number's at 14.5 now. I never like to say buy the hook ever. I hate it, honestly. I hate buying points. Usually I would just pass on the game. I got on it at 13.5. If you're looking to bet the game tomorrow night, I'd buy the hook and lay the 14 with Rutgers in Piscataway to blow the doors off at Temple.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, coming into this game, Temple is not really looking forward to their season, and Rutgers has all the momentum headed into the season from last year, and it's going to be a carryover. You're at home. This is a prime spot for Rutgers to, yeah, like you said, win by 3 touchdowns. So I'm with you there. No opinion on the total. Do you have anything there?
No, I don't. I could see. Well, I guess just thinking out loud here, I project Rutgers to score somewhere between 30 and 42 points. I think it'll be a 35-14, a 42-21 type ball game. And those would both go 35-14 would fall under. So, yeah, I really don't have an opinion. I don't have any numbers on it right here in front of me as far as making the line. So, yeah, no, I would stay away from it. I just like laying the points here with Rutgers. I'm not going to get cute and try to tell you the total that I like, but no.
Yeah.
No real edge there in my opinion. I think it's a pretty fair number, right?
It is.
Pretty fair number.
35-17's
right in there in the push. Yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not going to be playing anything in this one, but I think, again, that's what we're going to be watching for is Rutgers just continuing momentum from last season. And, yeah, Temple's going to have a long year. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I think this is a program. Again, I think Rod Carey's out of a job in 12 to 16 months.
Yeah. So let's talk about
24.
Let's move on to Boise, Central Florida. I think this is going to be a little better of a game than the Rutgers Temple matchup. But this is
on it, definitely.
Yep. Another interesting game. We had to open at -4.5 for Central Florida. And the total opened at 70, so we're actually seeing it drop a little bit because we're currently at -5.5 and then over under at 68. We have two really good quarterbacks in this one, which I'm excited for. Dylan Gabriel, which is a guy who came in last year and looked amazing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think he'll get some looks in the NFL just based on his
Take and sling it. Yeah, he's
yeah
one of the most
his
dynamic
frame.
quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, I mean he's an up and comer. It's a good UFC team, but this is a Boise State team that's always going to play tough. Honestly, I feel like they have more value on the road than they do at home. I was looking at some trends. I know we're aligned with how we feel about trends, Jason, but Boise at home, they always get so much love with the blue turf, and they actually don't cover that much, as you would think. They will win games, but they don't cover, and that's what we're talking about here. But on the road, conversely, it's almost that lack of the blue turf, and Boise ends up getting more value than maybe they should. So initially, I lean with Central Florida, even after saying that, just because I think Dylan Gabriel is the real deal. But Boise State, Hank Backmeyer, very good quarterback too as well. He played solid last season. So this is a very good Boise State team. And I mean, we're showing a spread of 5.5. So I think that's a fair number. Opened at 4.5 again. New head coach for Boise State. He came over from Oregon. Andy Alivios, I believe is his name.
Yeah, Andy
Avalos. He played at Boise State at linebacker back in like the early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Defensive specialist guy. Yeah. He's hired for his defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so good point there, because this total is moving down. And I think that probably is playing a factor in this based on his defensive-minded approach and his philosophies. But what are your thoughts on this one, Jason?
Yeah, so I think it's actually pretty funny, right? You think of this, right? So we're looking at Boise UCF, right? Boise's head coach, Brian Harsin, leaves. He goes to Auburn. Who's gone from Auburn? Gus Malzahn. And who comes down to UCF is Gus Malzahn. So it's kind of like he's playing the team where the coach who took his job came from. So I think that's pretty neat how that all worked out.
I think that happens more than we think when we break it down. There's a lot of weird.
Yeah, the coaching tree is all intermingled, man. I mean, it's a dog eat dog business, and nobody's safe. Everybody's job's up for grabs at all time, and it's a carousel, right? That's what we call the coaching carousel. It just goes round and round. But I just thought that was kind of neat. Andy Avalos, defensive guy, as you mentioned, comes from Oregon. I really like this under for the fact that we're looking at two teams here with a brand new head coach. And I think systems are changing. The offensive familiarity that these guys had with the system before is out the window. Gus Malzahn's going to attack much differently than Josh Heupel and the program UCF has before Heupel had left. Heupel took over with Frost and whatnot. So this is definitely a different identity for this team. So how does Gabriel react to that? I think a lot of this movement is just buying on the fact that, Gus Malzahn, we all know Gus Malzahn. He was a great coach. And to his credit, he's been elite in his first years at every stop he's been. I got a buddy from Auburn who follows the program quite closely and has very high hopes for Central Florida with Gus off the rip. He says usually they get stale he gets stale after a few years, but people have respect and want to, impress Gus and play for a big name coach, and they're going to get that opportunity at UCF. Looking at the two teams from a roster standpoint, you're looking at, well, let me say this before that even. The Brian Harsin leaving Boise, most of the time you think, or most people would assume, Brian Harsin, the cupboard's bare, Boise State's running out of steam. They're getting caught up to in the Mountain West with, the likes of Nevada, San Jose State, and others, right? But then not so fast, because this team returns top 30 in the nation in production returning. So this is no team to sleep on in Boise State, who had dealt with a lot of injuries at the quarterback position last year. Yes, they'll be going through some changes offensively, but it's a team that I wouldn't write off because Harsin's gone and other teams in the Mountain West have caught up. On the other end of that, Central Florida is a team who's going to go through a complete offensive identity change under Gus Malzahn. And when you're looking at the returning production on that end, they're in the bottom 45. I think they're 88th overall in production returning. So I think, honestly, a lot of this movement is due to people liking Gabriel and Gus Malzahn. I don't think that it's necessarily warranted. I will take the points with Boise State here. Take the 5.5. It might even go to 6 the way this has been moving here in the past couple days. As far as the total, I think it's moving in the right direction as well. I think the under is the way to go. In years past, yes, this would be an over situation, but with two new offenses in place, regardless of returning the quarterback position, two dynamic guys, there's going to be some changes from the way that they block up front from zone to man, vice versa. Just you gotta take that all into consideration. And even more so past that, these guys are changing strength coaches. Everything they're doing, the way they just had fall camps, different. So any continuity that they had built over the year and think that they'd be returning, I think is not necessarily out the window, but I think it's devalued a bit. So I lean under here. I think the under 68.5 still a good play, and I lean to taking the points with Boise.
I lean under too as well, even with two returning quarterbacks and a defense for the Knights that was questionable last year. I mean, they were winning shootouts, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I get that it was open at 70 and it's dropping. So I understand why it is, because we do have a new head coach coming in, but both these I'm staying away from personally. Like I said, I do lean Central Florida, but man, I think it's a tight line. I also lean the under, still at 68, and no surprise that we are seeing a little bit of a drop, because 70 is a fairly high total, especially considering these two teams and what they're going through. So you made a really good point though about Malzone and Dylan Gabriel. That is why this line is moving. That absolutely is why, and I think you'll see some sharps, quote unquote sharps, maybe take Boise, like you said, at that +6. If you can get +6, Boise's a really talented team. I mean, they're going to be competing for the Mountain West again. And, they're still going to, I still think they're the team to beat in the Mountain West. There's a lot of hype on San Jose State, but still talent wise, they are the team to beat. And I think they're coming in on a mission this year. Yeah, I'm not worried about them losing this game by over 10 points. I think they keep it close. So I'm with you on this one, Jason.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think that Nevada's the team to beat in the Mountain West, but that's another story. And I think the long shot is Fresno State, who went off at 30-1, but that's another conversation. I just wanted to throw that out there. When I'm right at the end of the year, we can look.
Well, yeah, we have it on film now, so
it's on
we can revisit.
The record.
It's on the record.
Yeah, I needed to get that one out before they start playing.
Nice.
All right, you guys ready to hop on to the next game?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. Ohio State and Minnesota coming up. But first, thank you, S Vegas 702 for the 200 bits. Appreciate that very much. Ohio State and Minnesota. Maybe the marquee game of the week. I think everyone's excited just to watch this Ohio State team.
This one's Thursday too as well?
I think this is Friday.
This is a Friday?
I believe so, right, Nick?
Let me check.
Well, Nick thought today was Tuesday, so yeah, I don't know if he's the best person to ask.
I might say that this is on a day of the week that doesn't even exist at the rate
Friday.
that I'm going.
I'm like 90% sure.
It is Friday.
Game, 5:00 Pacific Standard Time.
No, it's on Thursday. It's on.
It is?
Yeah, it says tomorrow.
Yeah, I thought we had 3.
Well, shit, 90%'s out the window. I was wrong about that. That's my first L of college football, I guess.
Well, it's fine having an L with the wrong day of the week. That's fine. We'll take that.
As long as the bet's in, Ben.
Larry says it's on Slurs Day.
Slurs Day.
Yeah, this one, obviously, I mean, you guys know I follow Minnesota. Well, I shouldn't say you guys know. For those who know me, I follow Minnesota pretty closely, playing for that staff as I did at Western Michigan. So this one I'll just run through quick if you guys like. Ohio State opened up at 14. This one's been sitting strong at 14 since we opened it here at Betfred. The total's actually down 4 points, from 66.5 down to 62.5. Correct me if I'm wrong on our number. I wrote this down earlier. As far as the matchup goes, you couldn't give me a better buy low opportunity in week one based off of what we saw last year. Minnesota was by far the biggest letdown in the Big Ten. Some people are saying PJ Fleck's on the hot seat. Oh, he's a gimmick coach, blah, blah, blah. while some of that could be true, I'm not saying it is true. Some of it could be true. He's a hell of a coach, and he's got this program built for the long term. So don't be fooled by this short season last year, where they dealt with some injuries early on, and they couldn't put it together. I think they're in their second year here under Mike Sanford, who last year came in and was co-offensive coordinator with Matt Campbell, who coaches wide receivers and coached while I was over there. Western, great guy. Apparently, from what I understand, Sanford came in. He wanted to run the show and didn't really know his personnel. And there's some clashing in the offensive play calling, and it was an absolute mess. Tanner Morgan didn't look like who he was. Rashad Bateman, who we know got drafted this past year, didn't look like the Rashad Bateman that we thought he was going to look like. So honestly, in my opinion, you throw out last year's Minnesota team, and you start fresh, and you look at an opportunity here to buy low on them. I think when you look at return and production again, guys, sorry, it's week 1. I don't have any film to watch from anything else, so I'm going to refer to that. This team is in the top 10 in returning production in the country. They return 10 guys on each side of the ball. In the Bill Connolly model, I believe he has them number 1 in returning production. So and that's weighs some other things rather than just like how many starters are coming back, impact players and whatnot. When you look at this Minnesota team, they're only losing Rashad Bateman, who was injured a lot of the year last year. So you're bringing back your 3 leading receivers. You're bringing back your leading rusher in Ibrahim, who's one of the best running backs in the Mountain West. I'm sorry, still thinking of the last game. I love the Mountain West in the Big Ten. And you're playing a team on the other side who, Ohio State, while they are built for long-term success, while they do recruit forward 5 stars every year, and they will reload and I'm sure will be competitive despite losing a lot of key pieces, this team only returns 13 starters overall. They lose 7 of their top 10 leading tacklers. They have a new highly touted young kid at quarterback in CJ Stroud, who I do think will be good. Don't get me wrong in saying all this. And the wide receiver core is elite at Ohio State. So if he can spread the ball out and get to him, of course, and get the ball in space for these guys, I think they could have some success. But Minnesota's defensive backfield is really strong. I think another year under Joe Rossi here in year 3, they take the corner and really improving as a team defense. And I think this Minnesota team is going to be playing a touchdown ball game with Ohio State come tomorrow night. I'm taking the 14 points in Minnesota. Again, the continuity, the buy low spot, returning production, the name recognition compared to an Ohio State, you get them at home. You give me Minnesota in the 14 points. And the last point I'll make of that is, playing for PJ, I've gone down to played at Purdue while we were at Western Michigan, played at Virginia Tech, played at Ohio State, played against Michigan State, to name a few, and played against the year after I was gone, when I went to the Cotton Bowl under Fleck, played Illinois, played Northwestern. Every one of those games that I mentioned, with PJ playing with the MAC team, always had the team ready to go, always kept it a 3-score game at most. And again, that was Western Michigan at Ohio State. We kept it a 3-score game. So you tell me PJ's got this full roster coming off a buy low opportunity, returning the whole team, and everybody's discrediting and underestimating him. I think this is going to be a pissed off PJ Fleck Gopher team, and they're going to make some noise at home and make it an interesting ball game against an Ohio State team that doesn't really have an identity right now, right? They lost their identity. So while they will be more talented, there's no question about that. Give me the 14 points in Minnesota at home.
Totally agree with you, man. And, this is one of those interesting spots where I am digging deeper a little more than I would into some of the betting numbers. And, we have to take this with a grain of salt, but everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but a majority of people are betting on Ohio State at this number. And I just think that it is interesting that it is still just kind of staying at that 14, right?
I think it's the sharper guys coming back on Minnesota every time that
absolutely
half popped or 15 popped.
100%. I mean, to me, getting Minnesota at a plus 14, I think, is a gift. CJ Stroud, I mean, he's a true freshman. There's a lot of question marks with him. Is it going to be a plug and play situation where they just put him in to the offense, the Ryan Day offense, and just have success, right? I mean, I don't know, and I don't think it's going to be that easy. Game 1 against a very, very veteran team. Tanner Morgan, right? He's been with the program. He's going to be ready to go. I'm very curious to look at the first half line for Minnesota. It's got to be around +8, I would assume. That may be an interesting angle because
First half line is +7.
+7.
+7 at +100.
+7 plus money.
Yeah.
Yeah, just from the standpoint that
I don't dislike that, especially knowing how PJ's teams come out, often start fast and have trouble closing. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I like the full game +14 also, but I think that would be maybe my strongest play here. Total is at 62.5. It's dropped. I'm showing 66.5 at some
open.
spots.
Yeah, 4 points. It's open.
Open.
From open, it's dropped 4 points. I can't talk.
Which I'm not surprised that it's dropped, right? Yeah. Considering the returning defensive players for Minnesota, and then the question marks with the quarterback. But at the same time, we've seen these true freshmen come in and just absolutely kill it, right? And we could be wrong about, and we're not saying he's untalented, not talented, but we're just saying, hey, this is his first spot against a seasoned team and a good head coach. So for that, yeah, I definitely lean with the +14 for Minnesota.
I think we'll be on the right side of that one tomorrow night.
Yeah. Any leans on the total? I know it's dropped. But...
No, nothing. I would say no. I really don't. I think you can make a case that more points that are scored could be trouble for Minnesota, but not with that's talking money line, not with the 14. So I don't really like anything with the total. I'm gonna call it I think Minnesota can very well win this game, actually. So maybe my guess at a score could be kind of outlandish if I'm wrong here. But
I like that confidence.
I think Minnesota can definitely win this ball game. I absolutely do.
You do make a good point, Jason, because if this does turn to be a shootout, I think that does favor Ohio State, to be completely honest.
What that tells me, Ben, is they're clicking. The O-line is not missing a step, and C.J. Stroud just stepping in, replacing Fields, and utilizing those weapons, able to spread it around. And Ohio State is returning, 3 of their top wide receivers. They lost the running back, and they lost Justin Fields. I think, who do they have?
Trey Sermon.
No, Sermon's gone, but who's the kid they have coming back? He's got a catchy name. He's a good running back. I can't think of his name.
Nick, can you get on that?
Yep, Google machine is working.
Sweet.
I'm gonna remember right before you say it.
Also, while you guys think about that,
but anyway,
Minnesota last year had those 2 close losses to Wisconsin and Maryland. So I think their record last year is a tad misleading. And again, we've talked about the shortened season, but I thought they looked good. If you look at film, they didn't execute down the stretch in those 2 games, but it's not like they, came out and just had a terrible season after going 11-2 the year before. I think you're catching a little value with that, to be honest. I don't know how much, but maybe a point and at a key number.
Points. It's points. If they were a formidable team, as their record does not tell, but as the team is and where they stand and where they were coming from the year before, I think, again, I call this a buy low spot based off of what we saw in film last from this ball club, and really just the record that they put on paper last year. Again, I think people think it's panic mode up in Minneapolis, but that's not really
it isn't. So and
that's why I see it being a buy low spot.
Yeah, and Fleck has job security, the program, the players. I don't think anyone feels any of that, so I think that's fine. The only people that are showing that maybe are the public, and they're
the odds makers.
Yeah, and they're not within that. So, yeah, I like this number. I think it's a good number, and it's going to be interesting to see if this moves. But, it seems like the Sharps are on Minnesota, and they're just kind of keeping that number at -14. The books are. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, so Larry said the guy that you're thinking of is Master Teague.
He's correct.
Oh,
Thank you,
Master
Larry. Yeah,
Teague.
Master Teague. I said catchy name. I couldn't think of his name. Master Teague.
That is an
So he's
awesome
their
name.
second leading rusher last year, and he's back.
He's actually
They
listed
lost-
as the backup on their depth chart right now.
Oh, is he? All right.
They have a
Who's the starter?
redshirt freshman, Mayan Williams.
Okay.
Listed
He's
as
probably
the
a 4 or
starter.
5-star recruit. We're just not in the.
They're-
I'm not in the.
They're probably
Zone West,
all
but-
4 and 5-star recruits.
Yeah, for the most part, you get that once in a while a 3-star guy who emerges, but yeah, and they saw something in and they build up and create into a savage in the Big Ten. But yeah, for the most part, you're right about that, Nick. They are. I mean, they're getting the pick of the litter up there at OSU.
They're not going to they're not going to Michigan anymore.
No, probably not.
All right, so you guys ready to move on to the last game that we have on the docket for today?
Yes.
So it's going to be the game between Oregon State and Purdue. So this is the last game that we have scheduled. But if anybody in the chat has any other games that you are interested in, let us know in the comments, and we will talk about them after this Oregon State-Purdue game. This looks like the only game that we have that is on Saturday
Yeah.
that we're
it is.
talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What's that all about?
Well, I don't know. I think we got I don't know. It's Tuesday in your book, but it's Wednesday, and I think give some. If you want me to jump on Friday, if you guys want me to, I will. If you want some Saturday picks, but I don't know. It's just all front of mind and some good ball games that are going to be leading into the weekend. Again, not a marquee game by any means. The only people who will be watching this one will have some money on it, or OSU or Purdue alum, but. Those are the games we like to talk about, right? So it just turned out that way, I think.
Yeah, and go ahead, Nick.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say this is a surprising game from the standpoint of who's starting for Oregon State, because it's Sam Neuer, and he transferred from Colorado. He was their starter last season. He entered the transfer portal, and it was pretty much because Shrout from Tennessee transferred over, and then they also have Brendan Lewis coming in as a redshirt freshman. He's a dual threat guy, so Neuer decided, he was going to go somewhere where he could play, and I don't necessarily know if he knew he would be the starter, but I'm spacing who he beat out, but it was a pretty weak quarterback battle. Sam Neuer, no offense to him or his family, but he's not the best quarterback. He's got the size and
Lots
stature.
of offense
but,
to his family.
Yeah, they're probably
You raised
But-
the loser.
I'm shocked that he's starting in this one, and for that, I like the under in this one. But Jason, this is really odd because this opened at -6 up to -7, but the total opened at 65, and it's jumping up to 68.5, and I don't quite understand that.
Well, you know what I think? I think the offensive production for Purdue has a lot to do with it because they got 2 very strong quarterbacks, and they returned a 3 leading receivers from last year and their top running back. So I think it's probably on the fact that Purdue's going to push the pace, and if these guys out of Corvallis want to hang with them, they're going to need to score some points. So that's my best guess. As far as the quarterback situation in Oregon State goes, this is funny, we were talking about Neuer here. A buddy of mine, so I played a year as a grad student at University of Idaho, played in the Sun Belt, and a buddy of mine is from Corvallis area and grew up with and played with Neuer. He was a college quarterback, Division I quarterback from himself, right? By no means was a starter at Idaho, but he was a guy like he loves football, he loves to bet. Him and I talked this morning. He told me he was shocked that Neuer was the quarterback. And while he supports him and he's a buddy of his, he has no confidence in him, nor do I. That's from somebody who knows him and, knows the quarterback position. We both are in agreement. It's a lay 7 all day. This one opened at 6, and I wish I got on it earlier. But I'm laying the 7. And, this is one of my biggest bets of the week and why I wanted to get this one talked about towards the end of the pod here for a Saturday game, although there's a lot bigger matchups. I think Jeff Brom's a hell of a coach. He's bringing the kid O'Connell back and Plummer. Again, he's returned his 3 leading receivers, his top running back. last year scoring points wasn't their problem. Their defense was the issue. So what they did was they went out and got a new defense coordinator in Brad Lambert from Marshall, who's had a really stout defense the past couple of years. Likes to load the box, bring the heat, and a different look than what Purdue has done in the past. So I think it's going to be a refreshing opportunity for the guys to play fast defensively, and I think they'll fly around. While there will be some mistakes, with the first-year defensive coordinator and a team who didn't have a great defense last year, they're very underwhelming. Could be where this total is rising, because why this total is rising. Some of these guys who are market movers may recognize that and know the production of Purdue's offense that's returning. So that'd be my best guess on the total moving up. But the fact that this game is still at a touchdown and not up past a touchdown actually has really surprised me. And it provides a great betting opportunity for everybody to lay the touchdown here and get on the Purdue side, the winning side, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you have Jack Plummer. He's a guy who, to be honest, he was average last year, but I do like his upside. He's athletic. He can run. He'll get out of the pocket, get you a first down when he needs to. And he's the better quarterback in this matchup, hands down. Like you said, it is a little surprising that Neuer won that battle. But, hey, he's the starter. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, because this total, again, I'm still just a little confused there, because in my eyes, at 65, I think that was a good number to open at. But I honestly thought it would get down to 63. I just don't necessarily see how Oregon State's going to put up a lot of points. And we have to consider their offense leaned heavily on Jamar Jefferson as their tailback last year. And he's gone. He's in the NFL. So, I guess Neuer.
We lost Jason for a second. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I was getting a phone call. I had to ignore the phone call.
Okay, no, we're good. It screwed up the cameras in a kind of funny way.
I know, I saw that.
It like
great.
Yeah, split band between the two cameras and like took out the middle of his face.
My bad.
No, you're good.
Jason,
that was great content. You should do it again.
Quick ignore.
Cyclops Ben, he said. No, Jason, I was just saying though, I'm still a little surprised that this is moving up the total, because Jamar Jefferson is gone. I just don't know where the production's going to come from, right? So
that's fair concern. Again, I think it goes from mishaps, miscues on the Purdue defense that lead to some long plays.
Mm-hmm.
It would be my best guess of where it comes from. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be more Purdue shooting themselves in the foot and learning on the fly here than it will be Oregon State out scheming them and getting guys open in space. But we'll see what's left to be seen.
For me, the best bet, I'm with you, is the -7. I'll take a touchdown with the Boilermakers, the better quarterback, better head coach. I guess defenses, you could say, are even maybe in this one. But, yeah, I'm going to have to go with the home team in this one. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, yeah, this is an interesting number. And, hey, I'm okay with it. I don't think this is as tight of a number as you're going to see, because at this point, right, because this is probably not even the 20th most talked about game on Saturday, to be honest. But I wouldn't be surprised if this moves up to a 7.5.
I think it will. And if it doesn't get on, I would bet double my position on it.
So, yeah, this is one of those to watch for. And it's nice to talk about a Saturday game, because it gives us a few more days to kind of see some line moves, to see if anything changes there. I wouldn't be surprised, too, if that 68 kind of plateaus and maybe drops down to 68 to 67 in that range. We'll see. I was wrong initially on that one, but luckily I didn't bet that total. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I mean, again, Oregon State, they're going to be bottom barrel team in the Pac-12, but in Purdue, I don't know. Do you think Purdue can get a bowl game this year?
I do. I think Jeff Brom gets this program back in the right direction and rights the ship, and this should be a good ball club. I did mention they do return their 3 leading receivers, and that was not a misstep by me. Last year, Rondell Moore wasn't playing that much, right? So David Bell, who leads the way and will be an NFL player next year, leads a great receiving core, and these guys can get open and make plays. And They got Plummer and O'Connell, guys who can get them the ball and make plays on their feet and, extending plays to deliver it downfield. So, yeah, I really like this offense. I think, and I love Jeff Brom as a coach. So, yeah, I think they definitely get 6. To give you like a really strong answer, I would have to look at the schedule, how it breaks down the out of conference and then into Big Ten play. But
Yeah, totally.
this is a favorable out of conference game. I'll tell you that when you're talking about another Power 5 school you're taking on. This is a very favorable side. And yeah, I just off the top of my head, without digging into the schedule, I would say this is a team who gets back into bowl contention. Absolutely.
Respect it. Someone asked where Jamar Jefferson went to in the draft. He went to the Detroit Lions. He actually might see some decent time this year. So that's interesting. We had a question about, let's see, Miami, Alabama. I think someone's going to actually be at the game. It's in Atlanta.
I like Miami, 100%. I'll take the points of Miami there all day. Again, you're going through a new identity as a team. It's similar to my handicap with Ohio State, yet they're not losing the same amount of production, but I think they are losing as much impactful players. I think this team's going to need to reinvent itself identity-wise, and while I do think they still are a top contender and it's not going to be a situation where I could see them losing this weekend, I think that's way too many points to give a Miami team who's bringing back a lot of pieces.
19 and a half.
Who can hurt them both on his feet and through the air. And some team speed that actually matches with Florida, with Alabama. So give me those points with Miami. Absolutely.
Yeah, 19 and a half. That's a lot.
That's a lot of points, man.
This was 16, I think, a week ago, maybe. 16 and a half, maybe 16 and a half,
yeah,
17.
This is a mover as well. This is a game we could have talked about the line move being
it looks like it opened up at 17 and a half.
And it's up to 19 and a half.
Yeah, it's possible that it dipped before it rose if it was at 16 and a half. But I'm showing an opening consensus line at 17 and a half.
Yeah, I think I did see a 16, but it maybe was only for a shorter period of time. And of course, off season's weird because there are limits on certain things and people are waiting. But yeah, this number almost to 20. I mean, if it gets to 20, I think I'm in. I might wait because it might get there. I mean, public's probably going to be on Bama. I think there's some trends out there about Nick Saban in neutral site games, covers really well. And I actually think that's
games just performs really well.
Nick Saban has to just, but I think this is actually factored into this number. So you're not fooling anyone when you say that. I think that's accounted for. The other thing, that the good old Alabama first half trend, I actually know a lot of people who ride that and they make a lot of money. So it is interesting. I'm not endorsing that moving forward because most people know how I feel about trends, but this number's got to be what, like plus 10 or minus 10 for Alabama first half, Nick?
Pulling it up.
It's got to be somewhere around there.
I would guess it's 10.
Yeah.
I actually don't see a first half line here.
We'll have to watch for that. May come up later. But yeah, it seems like a lot of points. A lot of points. Alabama's going to have the talent, though. There's no doubt about that. But I think Miami could put up some points. I do.
I think so.
Could be
I think King gets them rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oregon, Fresno State.
Fresno State, that's one of my biggest plays this weekend, plus 21 points.
Did you learn anything about Fresno State last week?
No, because UConn's dog shit. But Fresno State has been a team that I was beating my chest about last year. They were a 13-point collapse against Nevada, away from being in the driver's seat of the Mountain West. And then the last game of the year, they played against New Mexico. They already folded in the bags for the season. It was first year under Kalen DeBoer, so it was a team that, they came on strong and they faded late with some disappointing losses. Ronnie Rivers had got banged up on a touchdown run that would have put him up at 3 scores. Nevada came back, rallied back, ended up beating them, and it kind of just ended their season, right? But this Fresno State team, guys, I have a ticket on them 30-1 to win the Mountain West. With Jake Haener at quarterback, I think they return I mean, if you look, it's tough to just say starters. I think they return 18 starters, but they return on their offensive line alone 8 guys who have started more than 4 games for them at the FBS level, and the defensive line is a 2 deep. So they got eight guys rotating through their defensive line. And these are guys who have all been starting and playing way too early. So in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer, an absolute mastermind offensively. Ronnie Rivers in the backfield, all their wide receivers back. Jalen Cropper. They brought in a 6'4" wide receiver out of Washington. His name's slipping my mind, but
I remember that. I remember
they
hearing
brought
that.
in a D line. They have 2 D linemen, one from transfer, I want to say from Oregon State, and the other is a kid who was ineligible last year, who's an NFL talent, about 6'3", 310, defensive tackle. This team is the real deal, Fresno State. Tight end Juan Rodriguez is a stud, in-line blocking, and can catch the ball. He got hurt last year. I'm all about Fresno State. That biggest sleeper team in the country value-wise, in my opinion, and it won't last long. But they open up the Mountain West when they get there against Wyoming and Hawaii. And then they get into the tougher games in the schedule. But, they play Oregon this week. This is a team who plays UCLA in 2 weeks, who I think will beat UCLA, although how impressive they looked. Again, we'll get a good number there. In my mind, depending on how this game unfolds, if they make it really close, there might not be as much value in the coming weeks. But 21 points, the fact that it got to 3 touchdowns, I fired the second I saw that because it was sitting on that 20 and a half. So that game we could easily have talked about here, but we had a few games early in the week to cover. But I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, Fresno State's an interesting team. When I was researching the Mountain West, definitely was a team where I like their value to win the Mountain West, and kind of a quiet team. San Jose State is getting a lot of love out of the Mountain West, and then of course
in Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada, and then of course Boise State, who we discussed earlier. So they're a team that could be catching some value here.
Sorry, go ahead, Buck. Yeah.
I was just saying, I think that they're a team that could be catching some value here, and they covered against UConn, but I don't really think that changed anything with this line because
no, it didn't.
UConn is UConn. So nothing really. And honestly, Jason, I think Fresno State didn't play the best game, and they still covered. To be honest.
Yeah, they covered easily, 45.
Yeah.
What was it? 45 zip.
In the first half, I think they had 2 scoring opportunities where I didn't watch the game, but I remember checking the scores, and I was in our Discord too. Does that sound right? Where they left some points on the board?
I was off the board, I should say. I was at a wedding on week 0, so it was the only weekend that I'm not going to be locked in my seat watching everything.
Same here.
Oh, really? Yeah. I said one of my buddies I played with in college, was my best friend playing with, who was a linebacker with me, and he had a small wedding out here in Las Vegas, so he tied me up for the weekend. But I said, no more of that. I'm locked in and loaded all season long now.
Better week 0 than week 1, or
you know what? It would have been a thought about skipping it if it was week 1. Better, in all honesty. So
yeah, you would have to question the friendship there.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not seeing anything else from anyone. I guess let's do this, Jason, if you're cool with it. What about one more before we let you go that you're kind of eyeing, or maybe just a game in general, but maybe a pick too?
So let me say this. I got 2 things, right? So before I go, I'd like to tell, the audience here, anybody in Colorado, where I'd imagine most would be here, but if you're in Iowa or Pennsylvania, but just on a Betfred end, I'm sitting here in the Betfred office. I kind of skipped over that part to begin with. I'm a market analyst here, so I work on a lot of the promotions and whatnot, and I want to announce this one that will be coming out this week. So anybody in Colorado, we haven't even announced this yet, so I think it'd be a good time to starting tonight at midnight. So for the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games, we're doing a bet 200 in that day, right? So cumulative bet 200 that day. We get a $50 free bet or promo cash. In Colorado, it'll be a free bet. If you're in Iowa, it'd be promo cash. So we're going to run that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you bet 200 on Thursday, you got a $50 free bet in your account. You do it again Saturday, you got another 50 free. So by the end of the week, by the end of Saturday, there's $150, right? So those are more aimed for guys who are betting some smaller funds, 20, 50, 100 a game. What I've done also is come up with something here for guys who are betting good amount of money, who are betting 100 plus, I would say, into the nickels and dimes. If there's anybody here interested in that stuff, what we're doing is a cumulative risk, right? So starting on Friday, it's going to start Friday and run through Monday because we got Sunday game. We have a Sunday game. Notre Dame plays Sunday, and then Ole Miss plays on Monday. So for the Labor Day game, so we're running this from Friday through Monday. You have to risk up over $1,000. So that, again, that's just risk, not losing or winning, just risking, right? You risk over 1,000, we'll kick you back 20%, up to 5,000 and up to 1,000 in rewards. So if you're a guy who's gonna, like me, because I'm this guy, and that's why I do it for guys like me who bet good amount of money, I'll be laying somewhere between 200 and 500 on every game personally, just to be honest. So I would love this promo. So if you're a guy who's going to go bet, 10 games on Saturday and then play this, and maybe 1 or 2 on Friday and one on Sunday and the game on Monday, we'll incentivize you to bet more. So if you risk up to $5,000, you'll get $1,000 back. So 20% of whatever you risk throughout the weekend with us, Friday through Monday on college football, we'll kick you back 20% at the end of the weekend.
And is that kickback? Are those free bets?
Free bets, yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, you can't beat it, man.
Especially if you're going to be betting already.
Anything like that. On top of that, we have new user, wager matches. We have all that shit. So I mean, whether you're a small bettor or you're a guy who gets down like me, or even way bigger, there's million. And I don't say like I'm a big bettor, but I feel like I'm an intermediate guy. Or if you're a big bettor, we got something for you here at Betfred through the week that's going to make it worthwhile for you to be betting college football with us.
Yeah, I like that because it's not like if you only had that 1,000 promo, then it would be like, oh man, if I'm only betting this, I'd have to go to that. But you basically have a promo for each kind of tier, more or less, which I like a lot. So that's a great promotion because if you're going to be betting this weekend anyway, you might as well get some free bets. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. So
yeah. So I'm sitting here in the office in Las Vegas right now, and I just stepped aside from some meetings to take this call with you guys. And just wanted to mention what we got going on for any of you guys who are interested in getting down or already. If you're watching this, you're already getting down for college football. But just to incentivize why you should come bet with us.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that, and we'll share that too with our Discord and some of our other subscribers too, as well. So before we let you go, is there one final pick you want to give out?
I'll drop one more. And this one, Ben, this one's not gonna shock either you guys or anybody else who knows me. But the Western Michigan Broncos catching 17 on a short road trip over to Ann Arbor, Michigan. They're under a new defensive coordinator. A lot of question marks. This is a team not returning the production they have in years past. This is not the same identity of a team. New quarterback. And on the other end, this is a Western Michigan team who's been on the fringe winning the MAC every year. Something that they haven't had in years past that we have now is a very strong defensive line. 2 guys who could potentially will be playing on Sundays next year. From a defensive line, you don't hear that often in the MAC. Usually you hear good skill position, some good quarterbacks, some good defensive players, but not often do you hear, and some offensive lines as well, but not often do you hear about defensive line being stout. And this is a defensive line who will be able to get after it. The front seven's big enough to hang with Michigan. Offensively, I think they're going to give Michigan a whole lot of headaches. So catching 17 points in a short road trip, little brother versus big brother, per se, I think it's a great opportunity to buy on my Western Michigan Broncos. I believe we play the 9 a.m. game, Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Mountain Time for you guys out in Colorado. I'm taking the points in my alma mater. Absolutely. If this game was 10-15, 14, guys, I'm not that big of a homer. I wouldn't bet it, honestly. Getting 17 points, touchdown and a field goal, I think is of great value. I think, honestly, the number should be about 14, and in which case I would consider playing. But at 17, I have to play. Bring back all their wide receivers from Sky Moore, Bushell, the running back, the Michigan State transfer. Jefferson is his name, number 2. Quarterback Caleb Ellaby is the best quarterback in the MAC, and nationally I would put him in the top 10 as quarterbacks, playmaker. You've got to see what he did a bit last year. So they only lose D. Eskridge offensively. And Sean Tyler, another kid coming up fastest, could be in the backfield as the number 1-2 punch with Jefferson. This is a team that can definitely contend with Michigan for 4 quarters and cover 17 points. Absolutely. That's my last bet.
I like it, man. I like it. And, you're not just throwing that out there because you went there. You have substance and you can back it up. So that's all we ask. And you always do that, so I don't have to worry about it. So, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I think, Jason, it sounds like we'll have you on throughout the college football season, which is going to be super nice. I mean, because there's always so many games to cover and so many angles, and there's a lot of noise out there. And, you can read article after article, but I think it's best, when we have you on and we can just, chat about these games, go through them, talk about the matchups, talk about the line moves, what to expect, and, who's undervalued in spots. So we always do a good job doing that, and we really appreciate you having you on.
Absolutely. I love coming on talking to you guys. And hopefully next time, Ben, we'll square this away and you'll have a promo code for your listeners to get a few extra bucks and come bet with us. So
we'll get that
promo code.
We'll get that fired up probably next week, and we'll get that rolling. But in the meantime, there's those promotions to take advantage of this weekend, and might as well bet with Betfred.
Make some money, guys. Yeah,
that's a no-brainer. So,
and I'll just say this: I am playing tonight's game. I'm taking Jacksonville State plus the 17, playing against UAB. I'm not gonna bore anybody with it, but that's of why. But that's my play. So just
I think it already started.
5:30. Nuh-uh.
I thought so.
No, I still have an hour. It's 5:30.
We have an hour. Oh, yeah, people are already excited.
I'll go get my action in.
Yeah, I was reading our Discord, and
no, it starts in 5 minutes.
No, it does not.
It does. Hey, but you still have 5
Jason,
minutes.
you better get at it, man.
All right, I gotta go, boys.
Yeah, good timing.
All right. See you.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Have a good
See you
one,
later.
guys.
See ya.
Yep, see ya.
All right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you all for being here. Larry, that's a nice joke. But yeah, see you next time.